Hey, in this video, we're going to talk about some tools. We've been talking about tools at the college I teach at, going over that. So we're going to go over some of the tools we've been talking about because we kind of made a switch. And we're going to talk about some other things as well. This is Donnie Smith, and you're at the Car Addict Garage. So if you're joining us for tonight, I welcome you and look forward to get this going. So we're going to go for about 30 minutes from 7 to 7:30. We're going to talk about tools, a few other things, and I'm going to answer some of your questions, some of the questions that I had on YouTube. And then I'm going to answer some of the questions that you might have on here live. So let's go ahead and get started. Before I get started, I want to pay some respects for Jessi Combs. She was an amazing, talented person, really good fabricator, and, just really did some awesome things. And if you don't know who Jessi Combs is, she was on like Extreme 4x4, All Girls Garage, did a lot of TV shows. Then she started racing. And she won the title of fastest woman on four wheels. And she was trying to break that record and ended up having a wreck and dying during that time this week. So I want to pay respects for her. And this must be devastating for her family. So I pray for the family. And that's just a real sad. We really are losing a very talented person in this industry. So really, I was a huge fan of hers. Said I was going to talk about tools, and I know I've missed a couple of live videos the last couple of weeks. That's because school did just start. If you don't know, I teach collision repair at a college, and the first couple of weeks are always so hectic. I mean, you got things that are broke, you got things that are, you ran out of gases. Basically, through the summer break, you've got to catch up on all the administration type work that you have. I mean, it's just a really busy time. You get new students showing up. So, yeah, it's very, very hectic, very busy, and very tiring. So, yeah, I've been pretty wore out the last couple of weeks, but we'll catch that up tonight. So, one of the things we've been talking about a lot is tools, because we require the students to have just your basic hand tools, not air tools, power tools, or anything like that, just your basic hand tools. And they have some options. We don't require that they buy from Snap-on. I know some places do, or any specific vendor or brand. We give them options. And one of the options that we used to use was Craftsman. But last year, we had a lot of trouble. We used their student program. And, students was dang near Christmas time for they was getting some of their tools. So really had a bad experience with that last year. I mean, we've used it many years. It is a good tool for the price. They're not that expensive, but we had to find, we can't have students not having their tools that far into the program. So we've been researching and looking at different tools. We did have Snap-on come in, and that's an option for them. They can buy Snap-on, but still they get a student discount, but they're still going to be more expensive some of your other brands. So another really good brand that we decided to go with, except the toolbox, their toolboxes was a little bit expensive, but just about everything else, we went with Gear Wrench. I mean, that is a really great tool for the money and, easy to get and everything. So if you'd like to learn about the basic tools, I mean, they've really got a really cool, startup auto body, tool set. I mean, it has some hammers, dollies, it has some picks and door trim tools and, things like that you need. Really cool kit. But I'll put a link down there because we went through and looked at our tool list that we have at the college, and we really selected some sets that pretty much fills the tools that we need. Now, again, this is not paint guns or air tools or anything like that, just your basic hand tools. But we spent a lot of time kind of looking at that, so I thought, well, I'd share it with you too. And you might see, that's something that you may be looking for in some of those basic hand tools. But anyway, I've got, this is about to be giving this CP DA away. Now, I do want to mention, people get this confused. This is Chicago Pneumatic. That's actually a good brand. I mean, Chicago Pneumatic has really good brand for air tools, and they have this DA. Where people get confused, it says CP. CP stands for Chicago Pneumatic, but they had a company kind of copy them, and it's Central Pneumatic. That's from Harbor Freight. Total different tool. The Central Pneumatic's not near as good, not near the quality that CP tools are. But one of you are going to win this. And actually right now, the last time I checked, only one person or two people have entered to to win this. And you know, at the end of this month, one of them two are going to win it, unless some more people do enter. And all you've got to do to enter for that is if you're a Twitter user, you have to be a Twitter user for this. I'm going to change it up. I might do something on Instagram or something later, kind of keep it interesting. But if you're a Twitter user, all you have to do is share one of my videos on there and then put the hashtag Car Addict Garage, you know, all one word, the hashtag Car Addict Garage. And then that way I can click on that tag, I can find it. And then whichever one posts up first on the top, you know, top post, they will be the winner. So, and the way that moves up to the top post, and it's just the top post for this contest. I have other things on there. It's not me, anything I'm posting myself, but if it's one of you posting it and you get a couple of likes or a couple of shares, that's going to pop you way up to the top. So if you want to win that, you got today and tomorrow, and then we'll figure out who the winner is. So anyway, pretty good odds there. So let's go ahead and jump to some questions. And it might take me a while because these have really been spaced out. This is over a couple of weeks, but I'm going to answer some of the questions that you've had on my channel. And then I'll look back over here and see if you have any questions. And if you are joining us just now, be sure and say hi, you know, so that we know that you're there. You can hear us well, or hear me well. Make sure that everything's smooth and you can hear everything. So, all right, the first question, let's go over here and look. It says M&M Auto LIC says, howdy, quick question. When using a 1K sealer, will there be any shrinkage, or should I use a 2K sealer like your epoxy sealer? Yeah, with 1K, that's the bad thing about it. Even like the old lacquer primers, when I started out, that's all we had. It works, but you do got to watch out for shrinkage because, you know, more evaporates. You know, you don't really have that chemical reaction like you do with a 2-component product. So there is going to be more shrinkage, and I would recommend a 2K. I prefer 2K over a 1K. And if you're confused what that is, it's either 1 component or a 2 component. It's not talking about the reducer. You know, it's talking about does it have a catalyst or not. And that's the difference between 1K and 2K. But, you know, 1K works. I used it for years, but I do prefer the 2K, and you are going to have less shrinkage with the 2K. And what they're talking about shrinkage is where you apply it and it kind of shrinks up. You can see some of the scratches again. So that's what they're talking about right there. Okay, let's go to the next one. Like I said, it might take me a little bit to haven't had time to really look at any of these. So I do apologize for that. Okay. Joe Average says, okay, I'm restoring my frame. I'm sandblasting it. Now the same day I want to paint. So tell me exactly how do I do it? I'm thinking of going epoxy primer and then industrial acrylic enamel, both 2K hardener. Do I pressure wash the frame or just air clean it? Do I apply one nice wet coat of epoxy and let it dry dull? Not all the way, just tacky, and then spray top coat. Also, if pressure wash, is there flash rust? Can I apply the epoxy over flash rust? However, many coats of primer, and I can just put one nice coat. I don't want to mess it. Okay, so I would, if I got something that was just sandblasted, I would not use a pressure washer because you're not going to be able to get in all the crevices and all that. You know, I would blow it off as good as I could. They blow it off real good when they're, you know, turn the sand off. They'll try to blow it off. There's still sand. You'll chase that sand around forever. I'd even get a vacuum to get it, vacuum cleaner to get in the tight spots and clean it really good. Now, remember, while you're doing this, wear some of the disposable gloves. You really don't want to touch that sandblasted surface. It's kind of porous, and that will leave some fingerprints in it. So what I would do is I would get it clean, you know, vacuum it, blow it off, and get epoxy primer on it. But, you know, chances are there might be some areas that, well, this is for the frame, so it's probably not going to have a lot of body damage. But, yeah, if it's a frame, you could put a couple of coats of epoxy. I'd probably put a couple and then come back and put your top coat on. Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to sit there and block sand and all that on a frame. So yeah, that's what I would do. I was thinking about if it was outside the body, I would put the epoxy on, let that flash, put some primer surfacer on, block it out, and then paint it. But yeah, that's a little overkill for a frame. So that's what I would do, is put 2 coats of epoxy, make sure you got it covered good. And then you could come back with your top coat, whether you single stage or, that would probably be adequate for a frame, or your base coat, clear coat, or whatever you're spraying. So yeah, that'd probably work. And as far as letting your epoxy dry in between coats, your flash time, that's going to depend on your product. It may vary from product to product, probably 30 minutes to an hour, and then you can come back and spray it. But what I recommend doing is the brand that you're using of epoxy, find the technical data sheet and see what it recommends between that and the next coat that you put on. So the one that I use, like PBG, Shopline, some of the Keystone products, is about 30 minutes. So 30 minutes to an hour, you'll be good to go and top coat that. Okay, let's go to the next question. Let's see. Fintonio says, if I'm building a caravan sort of construction with spray foam being applied to sheet metal, or sheet aluminum, what would be the best way to prime? I'm not real sure about the spray foam. I mean, you're probably not going to be able to just prime over that spray foam. I guess you're building something to shape it. You're probably going to have to put some fiberglass over that or something. I'd probably put fiberglass over it, and then I'd probably go ahead and spray some epoxy or self-etch over that, and then prime it, and you're probably going to have to block it. So again, I'm not real sure what you're doing here, so it's kind of hard to tell you, give you any advice on that. So but yeah, if you're using like a foam, I know a lot of people use foam, especially on fiberglass parts, to kind of build a form, to lay their fiberglass on. You'd lay your fiberglass out, block that out, and then you're still going to have to prime and block it. But aluminum does, just because it's aluminum, you can get corrosion, like galvanic corrosion and things like that. And most aluminums do recommend still a self-etch or an epoxy on that. So just because it's not metal and it won't rust, don't mean you don't need to apply that. So if I can better answer that question, come back and ask more, or give me a little bit more information about what you're doing there. Okay. Diva Karen, I don't know, probably got that one wrong. It says, hi, I recently used self-etch primer. It's a PPG product. It wrinkled too much. Do you know the reason? Please advise. Yes, I do. Then that's the thing about self-etch. Great product. It does protect against corrosion protection, but you've got to put it on light coats. It's it's not quite as friendly as epoxy, and that's why I like using epoxy. But if you put it on too thick, it will actually kind of lift into the edges of the layers of the paint and cause this wrinkling. So yeah, that's one of the downfalls with self-etch. If you're using it, use a couple light coats. So I'm pretty sure it's what happened. I mean, I think everybody's had that happen before, where they sprayed it on too wet, and especially you can see the rings, your feather edge, where it goes in there and just attacks it and it wrinkles. And then you got to sand all that down. So that was probably your problem there. Let's see, why would you ever need to use self-etch primer over paint surface that's already adhered to the metal? Couldn't you just then spray color coat after light sanding? Yeah, if you did not sand through to the metal, let's say you're sanding a surface and you don't go through, there's no need for anything for corrosion protection, because you still got the E coat or the factory coatings or whatever's on there. So yeah, you might need to primer, for the feather edge, and prime and block to get it level again. But yeah, there's no need for corrosion protection like for epoxy or self-etch if you did not sand through to the bare metal. So you are correct on that. Let's see. Let me go through here. Another question about self-etch. Just see, Marlon Rosa says, can the self-etch primer be sanded before applying the base coat? And yeah, like if you sanded and you did burn through the metal, normally what I do, if I just got a small, about a $50 or smaller, I'm probably not going to go mix up some epoxy. I'm probably just going to hit that metal, after I get it in the booth mixed and ready or masked and ready. I'll probably hit that spot with a couple of light coats. And in about 30 minutes, you can come back and apply your sealer on top of that, your primer sealer, and then your base coat on top of that, and then your clear coat on top of that. So hopefully that helps answer your question. Kyle Dole says, in the middle of spraying inside pieces for Corvette is almost identical color. The curves of these panels are causing stripe or tiger striping. Played with it, tried everything, ended up at 5 psi at the regulator and sprayed it dry just to get it even. Worst nightmare ever dealt with. Now onto the tri-coat, which is going to be another adventure. And your metallics and stuff can be challenging sometimes with striping. Usually if you're trying to put it on too wet, that will cause that, either modeling or striping. Or if your gun's not adjusted right, if there's too much air pressure, it could cause that because it's going to be heavy on top and heavy on bottom, which will cause striping. The wrong reducer can cause tiger striping. So what I would recommend is just trying to put on nice even coats. Maybe not try to put it on quite as thick. Not, you can get your millage and your thickness when you're spraying your clear coat, but just put that base coat on nice and even. Now 5 psi, that sounds like that's going to may have caused really heavy orange peel because that's very, very low at the regulator. And that low, it's going to, that wouldn't have been too high of air pressure. That wouldn't have been a problem for sure. But 5 psi is going to be, when it atomizes and sprays on the car, the drops are going to be really, really big. So you're probably going to have heavy orange peel from that is, what I would assume. But yeah, just spray it on nice and even. You're not trying to make it look glossy or anything at this point. You're just spraying it a medium wet coat where you're laying a metallic on there. Another thing you may do if you're having problems with stripes, come back with a cross coat, where you come back the other way. If you're spraying this way on a hood, come back and spray it this way. Not heavy, just lay a nice even coat just to let that metallic kind of sit on top and come out nice and even. But yeah, that's something, that you have problems with. Even there's some colors that's a lot harder than others. So that's just something you may have to work with. But yeah, just keep on working with your adjusting your gun and getting all that right. Okay, Marla Rosa also says, hey, hi, I'm going to paint a tailgate and I have some bare metal spots, but no dents or scratches. Can I just apply base coat on top of the epoxy primer? I need another primer on top before the base coat. No, if there was a bare spot and you hit it with some epoxy primer, you can apply base coat straight on top of that. Epoxy is a lot more friendly. You're normally, unless you put it on way too heavy, not going to have no problems with it. It lays out good. It's very friendly. It goes on top of most of everything. Steel, aluminum, paint, prime. Any other coatings without causing wrinkling or anything. And just about any coating can be put on top of that. So if you sprayed that and you're within the window, and what the window is, let's say it says to let it set 30 minutes before you put in your top coat. But you may have 72 hours. If you wait too long, you're going to have to scuff that up again to provide mechanical adhesion. So, but yes, you can put a top coat straight on top of that. Okay, Eric Tuber Cortez says, this is about where I'm mixing up some glaze putty. And I can see where it's confusing because in this specific video, I'm not mixing it up with a spreader and I'm not mixing it up traditionally. I'm using one of them 3M guns where you hit the trigger and it mixes it up. And it actually got 2 cartridges in there, and it mixes in the tube. So you are mixing it. But his question is, do I need to add hardener? And with this system, you don't. It is being mixed up. It is having hardener mixed into it. But yes, any body filler will require hardener. If you try to get it like a can out of there and get some and don't add hardener, it'll never work. It'll never fully harden. So any body filler does need hardener. Now, I used to make a like a lacquer putty that didn't require hardener, but that's hardly used anymore. But any body filler, bondo, is going to require a hardener for it to fully cure. Okay, the Gaming Geek asks, after a complete paint job in 65-degree weather, how long should I wait to daily drive my car again, which was housed in a garage for 1 week? I obviously won't wax anything or wash my car. The problem is that I plan on painting everything this fall in New Jersey. So you can drive it. If you already garaged it for a week, you can drive it. I will admit though, that paint's not fully cured. That's why they recommend, like 90 days for it to fully cure before waxing it, because you don't want to trap any solvents or anything like that in there. Well, the solvents evaporated, but just hadn't made that full chemical reaction. So if you're wanting it to be fully hardened, 3 months. But I mean, most people will drive it the next day. I mean, we'll paint something, get it out, buff it if it needs buffed, or detail it and ship it out the next day. It's not gonna not gonna damage it, but it will scratch easier at that point. But you shouldn't have a problem if you. And it probably is a good idea not to wash it unless you really know how to wash it, because that's where probably most of the swirl marks and things like that is when something's improperly washed. Even a fully cured one, especially your dark colors like black, you get a wash mitt. You don't use the 2-bucket method, and some dirt might get in that mitt from washing the car, and you're just smeared it around, kind of acting like sandpaper, and you see those swirls. So, but when it's fully hardened, fully cured after that 9 days, that's less likely. But the less you can do to it while first couple of weeks, probably the better. If you can leave it in the garage for a couple of weeks, that would be even better. But most of the time that's not the case, and we have to drive the car, because it's probably our how we're getting back and forth to work and stuff like that. So but yeah, 1 week you will be good. Just be careful with it. Okay. M&M Autolink says, and did you ever use 1K sealer before base coat, clear coat? And if you did, what is your opinion on it? And does it last a long time? Ask, did you used to use 1K sealer? I'm assuming you're talking about 1K, unless that's a brand. I don't know, but 1K sealer. Yeah, when I started out, we didn't have 2K sealer. We didn't have 2K primer surfacer. We had lacquer primer surfacer that we used when I started out. Used a ton of it. It worked good. Just had to use, you may had to prime and block a couple, 2 or 3 times. Had to, make sure that you let it set and it shrinks all the way. And then I have used 1K sealers, and did a good job. But that was years ago. And I am sold on the 2K products, the 2K primer surfacers. To me, they work so much better, less shrinkage. And the 2K sealers, that's my opinion. Can you get by with 1K primers? You can, but I think it's worth the money. Go ahead and get in the 2K. But everybody has different budgets that they're working with, and the 1Ks are going to be less expensive. So, okay, Lori Rester says, I thought you shouldn't sand epoxy primer, and I think this is on a video where I'm talking about block sanding. The epoxy primer does not sand well. I mean, it's a little more gummy than like primer surfacer. It's really not designed to sand. It doesn't sand good. I mean, if you go past that, we was talking about that window, that 72-hour window. Once it loses its chemical adhesion, you have to sand it, or the base coat or whatever is just going to peel off. Just scuff it up. I mean, you ain't got to sand it hard, but you will have to scuff that up. So you may have to sand the epoxy primer. But it, like I said, it doesn't sand the best. But if I was going to use epoxy primer and be putting primer surfacer on top of that or top coat or whatever I'm doing, I would make sure and do it within that window. You know, go in there and spray your epoxy, you know, wait a couple hours, then come back and spray your primer surfacer, and then block sand it and, you know, get it ready for paint. So that's what I would do. Okay, Cool says, I used to use anti-seize on threads, and this is for spark plugs. And yeah, it is a good idea. I don't think I did in this video, but I know on the jet ski, they highly recommended it, you know, because all the water and some of them are in salt water. And if those spark plugs and those jet skis ever get corroded, they said that can really be an expensive repair getting those out. So yeah, it is a good idea to use that anti-seize on threads when you're replacing your spark plugs. So that's a great tip. Thanks for sharing that. David Tilwick says, the Bondo Kid. It's in a video where I'm using some body filler, and I guess he nicknamed me that's the first one for that. Been called a lot of other things, but the Bondo Kid. Okay, Hellfire 08 says, where can I get a nozzle in the can at the 1 minute mark? And what this is, I'm mixing up some paint, you know, some actually some clear, and the reducer has a little spout on there, you know, where you're not, it's a lot easier to pour, you know, out of the reducer can. And what I would recommend is go to wherever you bought the paint, because this is PPG that I'm using. They may have a different size lid, and then Acme or Sherwin-Williams, for example. So you might want to go wherever you bought the paint, and I'm sure they've got them there that you could buy one and use that, because if I tried to show you one that PPG uses, it might not fit the can that you're using. So, but yeah, they should be able to get that for you. You know, whenever you buy your paint, whenever you go to the stores and buy your paint, you know, be sure and ask for, you know, technical data sheets and things like that. They should be able to print you those. But something like this, maybe they don't have it, but they can order it for you. So, all right. Okay, I may have missed some. If I did, you know, be sure and text me back. I know it's kind of hard to keep up with these sometimes. So it's nothing personal if I missed you. Just got busy and overlooked it. So, okay, let's go over here. We're going to look at some of the questions I got here now. Let's see. M&M says, your thoughts on 1K sealer? Have you ever used? Okay, well, I did answer that. And yeah, I've used a lot of it. I mean, when I first got into this, that's all there was. Used it on every job I had. So I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it. Just like the 2K better, you know, because it's less shrinkage. I have some epoxy primer sealer 2-part. Yeah, I would recommend that. You know, I think that would do better. You know, it can go on top of just about anything, and just about anything go on top of that. It's not going to shrink as much as a 1K product. Bisbee Body Shop, hi from the UK. Well, yeah, hi back. You know, I know I've seen some of your videos too, and y'all do some great work there. So thanks for showing up and saying hi. Oh yeah, and this from M&M. And then when they mix that stuff called Rondo, Bondo, and resin. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is unless you're talking about that honey stuff to thin it, maybe. Is that what you're talking about? Let's see. Rondo, Bondo, and resin. I know they make I know Evercoat makes this. It's honey something. I haven't used it a whole lot, but it will, because I use glazed putty. You know, it's pretty smooth and spreads good. But there has been people put this honey stuff in there, and there has been people get like regular fiberglass resin, you know, that you mix with fiberglass, and they'll mix just a little bit, doesn't take much, just a little bit of that in their body filler, and then mix it up. And what that does, it just thins it out a little bit, especially like on your final coat, and it puts it on really nice and smooth. So I have done that. It does make it just a little bit harder to sand, it seems like, but it will thin it out. You know, if you're not using glazed putty and want to just use some resin in your body filler, you know, that's a way to put on a real nice even coat. Let's see. Mike says, hey, I need some advice. Okay, yeah. What? Let's see. Marla Rose says, "Hi, I'm fixing a tailgate. I already sprayed 2K epoxy on some spots with air metal. Can I go ahead and spray the top coat?" Okay, well, we answered that one. Chris Wiggins says, "What is the proper dong to bullets ratio?" Yeah, I'm not sure on that. I don't know what that is. Coy Dean says, "I have a muffler that broke a joint. I've tried clamp. Any ideas how to fix it?" It just broke in two? It's a muffler that broke at the joint. Probably you're going to have to replace some of that pipe right there, I would assume. Probably have to weld it in or clamp it in, because probably the exhaust, they get so rusted. And a lot of times that metal gets so thin, there's not a lot you can do with it. It's a lot of times, a clamp sometimes will work, if you're trying to clamp that back together. But, you might have to replace some of that pipe, because if you just try to weld it right there, chances are, it's all rusty, and that's not going to weld good. And, it's just going to be thin. So you probably have a problem trying to do any welding. So you might just cut off a section of it and try to put some more exhaust pipe in. And again, I'm not an exhaust person. When it comes to mechanics and stuff like that, I'm the DIY. I do a lot of it just to kind of here at my house and been around it and done a lot of it. But, I'm not a professional mechanic. I'm more on the auto body and paint side. So, textbook answer would be, just to replace it. If it's all rusted and stuff like that, you need to replace it. So anyway, I may not have been a lot of help on that question. Okay, Marla Rosa says, "Please make a detailed video on what to use to paint plastic like bumper or door handles. Thank you for your advice." And I think I've got some, but they're old. And, when I started out in 2000, whatever, 8, we had those little flip cameras, and, in the audios was horrible, and I was learning how to do it. So, I need to redo some of these videos where they are better quality. They're still not perfect. I'm still kind of DIY when it comes to video and editing too, but kind of taught myself. But I do need to do some more plastic videos, and especially with the painting and parts. The important thing with plastic is you have to use an adhesion promoter, a plastic adhesion promoter, especially with your bumper covers, like the soft plastics. It's the TPO plastics that really require that, because it's kind of soft, oily, and that's the problem. Stuff just doesn't stick to it. If you don't use it, it's just going to peel off. And the thing about adhesion promoter is kind of like self-etch primer too. You put it on too thick, it's going to cause problems. So you just want to use light coats. But yeah, in the future, I will do some more of those. I do got to also, I've got one of those static guns. This is not a DIY, it's kind of expensive, but I just kind of wanted to show how it works. Got one of those static guns, especially for plastic parts when you're going to spray them, because plastic always carries a lot of static electricity, and that just acts like a magnet and sucks up to the plastic. And I want to do a video on that. That'd be good to maybe go through a plastic repair. And we're getting one of those nitrous welders too soon, so that'd be something to also. I've used adhesives and staples and different methods that I've shown, but yeah, I probably will do some more plastic soon. I still got some of the jet ski I've got to edit and get out. Then I'm going to do some Eastwood stuff. They've got a PDR kit, and they're going to help me out with the Jeep project. And, I've got some other videos to get out first, but then, yeah, that's a good idea. And I will do some more plastic repair videos and painting. So. Let's see. Yeah, I'm still kind of not sure what you're asking there. So, so anyway, we have hit the 7:30 mark. So I do appreciate you all for showing up this week, especially after I had missed a week, or actually 2 weeks. And so I encourage you to come back. I do plan to do these every week, maybe every 2 weeks or every week, through the school year. It's hard to maybe make it on some of them because sometimes we got events we got to go to later on Friday evenings, but I'll still try to get quite a few of these going. I mean, it seems like they go good. You've had a lot of questions. I appreciate your questions. And again, if you want to register, or not register, but all you have to do to win this is if you're a Twitter user, go in there and share one of these videos of my videos, but you have to use that hashtag Car Addict Garage, and that will enter you to win. And then whenever I click on the top tweet, I guess you call it, the top tweet that's sharing one of my videos will win this, and that will be tomorrow's the last day. So odds are good. There's only been 2 that enter so far, and all I will need once I do that, I will DM you and get your address, and I'll ship it to you. So be sure and do that. Or if you're not interested in winning that, go to Twitter and put that hashtag in and give one of these guys a like, whichever one you want to win, give them a like, and that'll help them. So you can either help them out, or, you can enter to win yourself. So. Okay. Well, again, thank you all for showing up. And if you have any questions, be sure on any of my videos, leave a comment, and I'll try to get to them, either answer it or whenever I have the next live video and cover it. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.